So, as a part of that continuation, we have seen some basics of the Hive, which is a provision of a kind of ETL mechanism, which is providing us to store, process, and create the tables, load the data, etc. Okay. So now in the today's session, let me give you the objectives. Of course, again, I will revisit this what is Hive and what is not Hive, because some of the limitations might be there, guys. Because one more thing, if you are working on a mainstream aspect like MapReduce, okay, where we are having a powerful tool for parallel and batch processing. But we felt that is a complex thing to design the applications and all. So the simplified version, we're having the Hive. Then obviously, guys, if I'm making use of, okay, if I'm not going to the mainstream, and if I'm seeing the alternative, then certain limitations would be there. So let me explain which are all the limitations of that Hive, and thereafter we'll see some kind of the aspects like tables. As I said, we are having the internal tables and as well as the external tables. So these things we are having. And apart from that, the data loading process, both from the local file system and Hadoop distributed file system, and some kind of insertions. Okay, all these things will see. One by one. I'll introduce you how we are making use of these conventions, and of course here the little programming. Okay, like the command orientation is there, like how we have seen the Hadoop distributed file system and as well as the MapReduce. Okay, so similar to that, so just we are having certain kind of the commands where those commands helps us, okay, so as to interact with the tables and all these kind of the things. Let me give you what exactly Hive. Okay, though we have seen in the earlier session, but still, let me talk about that so that as a warm up, you can observe that. Okay, so this particular Hive is a system, okay, for managing and querying structured data built on top of Hadoop. So, if you are referencing the Hadoop ecosystem, this particular Hadoop ecosystem is having the Hive, and basically it is using the Hadoop distributed file system and as well as the MapReduce. So HDFS is for the storage and MapReduce, of course, for the processing internally. I will show you that how internally Hive utilizes the MapReduce. Of course, this point we have covered HDFS for storage, MapReduce for execution, extensible to other data repositories. This point is pretty interesting, guys. Soon we are going to talk about the scoop. What we'll do is the scoop allows us to connect between MySQL and Hadoop distributed file system. And this Hive also, so Hive, either you can establish with the Spark orientation, and Hive is having some kind of the connect with MySQL and even NoSQL kind of the databases. Okay. And one more thing, while working with the Hive tables, okay, though we are dropping this particular table, but you can maintain your data in Hadoop distributed file system as a directory. That case study also we'll see. Okay, so that means extensible. Okay, whatever the repository is nothing but a storage kind of thing. And along with the Hive orientation, this Hive can be extended to some other repositories. Maybe I can connect with the Hadoop distributed file system, or even in Spark also we are having the Hive context. Okay, like that we're having various repositories. Okay, which can be easily extended. Okay, while performing some kind of implementations. So this is the you can understand this way what Hive is providing to us. Coming to the next aspect, key building principles or key building blocks. Of course, this Hive in a simple way, one can easily specify ETL, which is providing the Hive query language in the form of the SQL orientation. Hive also giving us some kind of querying and all. If you see extensibility, pluggable map or reduce scripts in the language of your choice, rich and user-defined data types, user-defined functions. Uh, this thing actually, friends, Hive. Okay, I will show you the process of how you create the user-defined functions. Because if I'm talking about the functions, no matter whether that is Java, Python, or SQL, whichever, there are certain aspects. Maybe if I'm for the commonality, let me take the SQL because as majority of the members are aware of the SQL, we're having the predefined functionalities like some group by. Within that group by, we're having some count, max, min, like that. Okay. So though we are having the built-in functions, okay, built-in, or we may say these things are the predefined functions. But to achieve certain functionalities, okay, maybe I'm having some kind of iteration, okay, repeatedly. There I want to pick up some kind of the members whose experience is greater than 5 and who has done at least one certification, okay, in a 6 months. So then we thought of giving some 15% hike to them. So these are definitely not available in the predefined format. But these things we should run regularly. Okay, every 6 months or 1 year, just the HR people should run this particular thing. So you can manage these things with the user-defined functions. So user-defined functions are nothing but according to the requirement of the projects or according even to achieve some kind of the functionalities in our company also. We generally make use of these functionalities. That is what you call the user-defined function aspects. That process is pretty simple, where I can make use of some embedded query language so as to generate the user-defined functions. And of course, this formats and all will see interoperability, how Hive and HDFS are going to interact, all those kind of the functionalities you can see. And performance-wise, of course, we cannot compare Hive on par with MapReduce, but reasonably Hive is also performing well because we are having the concepts of the partitions. I'll show you in a while, and as well as the concept of the bucketing. Okay, so all these kind of the conventions are pretty helpful so as to improve the performance of the Hive. Okay, so these are all the basics before landing on how we are making use of the Hive. Just you can make use of these principles. Okay. Now, the most important thing, friends, know our limitations and knowing ourselves where to talk and where to keep quiet is giving us the narration of the life. Similarly, for the appropriate tools also, we are having some limitations, and we should know that which are all the uh, observations, which are all the aspects. Hive is not okay. Where we cannot use Hive. So just I'm getting this information, guys, for you. So this particular thing is also pretty important to notify. Just have a look on this. So this Hive As I am saying, this Hive is a ETL. Generally, the thing coming to the picture, OLAP and OLTP, the people who are having the background of Informatica or Ab initio or data stage, they may immediately connect these things because in the online analytical processing, maybe I'm having various sources of the data, S1, S2, S3, like that we're having some different sources of the data. And this particular source of the data will be extracted, okay, and these things will be transformed into a repository. Okay, the process of the extraction, transformation, and loading. And of course, the initial thing is the OLTP, online transaction processing, is a clerical kind of inputs and day-to-day transactions, all these things. And once the repository is over, this is is a data warehousing. Once the repository is available, you can generate the reports with the business objects, Cognos, some kind of data mining Weka tool like that we're having. This is something like online analytical process. So, in a typical data warehousing architecture, we'll be collecting the data from various sources and we are performing some extraction process, picking up the data and transformation because all the data may not be in the relational format. But one of the important thing related to the data warehousing is the entire data should be in the relational model. It should be in the relational model. So in that particular case, okay, the process what we are using so as to transmit, so as to convert the appropriate data. Sometimes we may get the flat files. Flat files, COBOL based input file, or we may be having the Java dot class file, whichever. Okay, all those kind of the things can be taken as the input data, and that input data should be used as a source, and we are getting the extraction and loading the data into the data warehouse. Okay, so this is the understanding, and but these points should come into your mind guys, when I am saying ETL. But a little difference is there related to the ETL process and as well as the Hive. It's not a OLTP, it's not for managing the transactions or day-to-day activities because it is also a kind of tool which is providing us to store the bulk data that we'll see. It's not definitely the OLTP kind of thing, not suitable for online analytical processing. Reporting and all, friends here, to be frank, Hadoop, Hive and Piglatin, they may provide some simple analytics, but the analysis and all, the with the help of the machine learning or with the help of the algorithms only, machine learning algorithms provided by that Spark ML only, we are going to perform. So these tools, no matter whether I'm using the Hive, Piglatin, Hadoop, distributed file system, MapReduce. These are all for storing and processing only. Okay, so analysis part and especially the online streaming kind of thing or real-time analytics are not possible in Hive. Okay, but you may ask me, but what for we are using Hive? Of course, batch processing, and we are converting that typical MapReduce into some kind of ETL process in a simplest way in the query format. That is the understanding. No extensive rights. Here, starting from the Hadoop, we are saying that the data is not for the purpose of the editing. So it is for the sake of, whatever the data is there, we are trying to understand that data. Okay, we are not going to change anything or something like that. So writing and all is not the intention of the Hive friends. Okay, we are not going to write anything. We are using the same data for the processing. That's it. Okay, exclusively in the batch mode. RDBMS, okay, so it is having some kind of the techniques, okay, like atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability. And apart from that, relational models containing some locking techniques, normalizations, all those things. Okay. But whereas in case of the NoSQL, all these things were eradicated because though normalization all these kind of things are important, but sometimes we may not get the resources who are fully equipped with those kind of skills. So then in that case, these Hive and HBase are comes handy for us. And of course, as streaming is not supported, definitely it is not providing any real-time analytics. And this property, Hadoop, however, following the batch processing and Hive also as an ecosystem tool, it is also following the same kind of the convention. Okay. So with this, just you can observe that maybe now if you see these points, managing and querying structured data, MapReduce for execution, HDFS for storage, extensible to the other data repositories. Okay, these points now you can easily match by observing these kind of the actual capacity of the Hive. Okay, now always we'll see first the implementation and then we'll get back to the architectural discussion friends. Okay, let me share our cluster, which is giving us a pleasure of implementation. Mm, with data, 1 minute, friends. Yes. So what we're doing here is just we try to launch Hive. Cost is same friends, web shell and all. But rather than using Hue login portal directly, we'll be using that Hive extension also. That however I will be talking in a while. Big data username, password. So it is getting connected. Uh, yes. So we are adding some input data friends for us. Input icon Hive. Let me show you what exactly I'm having in that. I'm having some content, employee lead, employee TXT, page view US. Page view statistics, these page views are helpful. Maybe from US and India, we are collecting some data and we want to manage how the users are interacting with the machines and what exactly the content, all these kind of the conventions. Um, this is really helping us to understand the pulse of the customers. Okay, like that we're having various transaction data, TSNS, user.txt, real estate data. Like that, we're having some data set related to Hive usage. Now I want to launch. Let me take one more because this web shell also important for us. Okay, so and moreover, there's one more important point. So you may ask me like this is actually in the local file system. As I said earlier, our Hive is supporting the local file system access also. Because in case of the MapReduce, we need to have only um, the appropriate convention, whatever the aspects, whatever the usage we are having in Hadoop distributed file system, they are directly supported with the MapReduce. But whereas in terms of Hive, uh, though that is running on top of the HDFS and though that is using for that is internally using the MapReduce orientation, but still it is supporting the local file system access. I'll show you how to do that. Just you can launch one more web shell. So again, mm, just I will be taking this one. Okay. So how to launch Hive? You need to type the command Hive. That's it. Then you see it is launching a an application that itself notifying us we are making use of this Hive. And simply rather than the web shell prompt, we are adding the Hive prompt. Okay. So just to give the control L. Now I want to get the yesterday we have created some database which is NDM1. Okay, now we are making use of this database for storing the or populating the data. Let me show some kind of the tables. So show tables, which gives us how many tables are there in our database. Okay, so tables. No tables were there, so that it is not allowing us. It is not showing us anything. Okay. Now let us start with a very first command. So this particular command is used to create a table, and that particular table is having some kind of the aspects. Let me explain these things, guys. So here, suppose I'm having some kind of the data with me. So just I want to pick up the data into my Hive. So what I can do is just to get the data. Okay, right click on this, paste from the browser, paste. Now you see. Okay, let us try to understand this thing. What we are saying is just I am making use of, as usual, in case of Oracle or SQL Server or MySQL, how we are performing the creation of the tables. Similarly, we are going to interact with this particular thing. Create table, okay, page view. So just as I said, now I want to create some page view statistics. At what time the user viewed the corresponding news item, what is his ID, what is the page URL he has used, IP of the corresponding machine. Maybe I can say we are some kind of a defense academy or something. Maybe we are very stringent in the access of our networks. So there is a monitoring tool, something like that. So we are tracking the user's information. Practically, if you observe in my machine, if I am working with Amazon or Facebook, in that case also, if any user is coming into our website, immediately we can observe that. Sometimes, to reserve some tickets, if you are going through some kind of website, okay, some flight, train, or bus tickets, then obviously next time when you are entering into your machine or if you are logging into your Gmail, automatically those kind of things pop up to your machine. So the point here is there is a mechanism where the log files, okay, so with the help of log content, the users can be tracked. So whether what made them, and even some cases, guys, suppose if I want to subscribe some kind of the news items or subscribe some kind of paid journals. So in between, if I struck, then immediately I'll be receiving the call. See, can I help you? Because I can see like you have logged into our website, and in between you attempted to pay the appropriate access of maybe I can virtual labs or I want to register for some kind of early access, whatever it may be, friends. So, but somehow they are getting the information. Okay, like the page views also, there are certain aspects where you can make use of these things, and these data types, if you see, integer, big string, it's not new for us, these are all. And this IP, string kind of the thing. Sometimes guys, it is always important so as to specify some kind of the commenting. Okay, so IP means it's not the input or something, just it is the IP address of the user. Okay, so that I want to guide the other members also so that he can also know that, oh, this is IP of the user. And once this table has been closed, so view time, user ID, page URL, and IP. Now, the one more thing, guys, this is a page view table, is a table level comment, is a column level comment actually. And one more, as I said, partitioned by is nothing but suppose I'm having some kind of the data with me. So let me talk that because that partition by itself is giving us some kind of the flexibility. in the working of Hive. Assume that just I'm having a table, and what I'm doing is here Amazon. So we are having some kind of the product information, login details of the user, time, and date. So product one, two, three, four, like that. Some login information. Okay, timing wise, just we're having some timing. Okay, so date 2011, 22, 2011, 22, 21st, 21st, like that I'm having. Now, what exactly partition does is like that some lags together records I'm having. Whether what I can do is I can partition my data in such a way that only 20th data I can segregate. This is partition one. Similarly, 21st data I can get into another partition. Now, practically, friends, what happens is at the time of creation of the table only, observe here, I have not yet created the table, but while creating the table itself, I am redirecting. Okay, if you remember, guys, in case of the Hadoop MapReduce also, we discussed about the concept of the partition technique. Okay, what it does is it applies some condition. Okay, na? It applies some condition. Accordingly, the appropriate data move to the corresponding rows. Okay, maybe the members who are having the skill set of the Spark in one location into one folder, or maybe the members who are having the notion of Scala and who are completely aware of PySpark. So like that, if I want to distribute the data, if I want to segregate the data into the multiple partitions, then I can go with the partition technique. Similarly, in Hive also, at the time of creating the table itself, what you can do is you can clearly mention on what basis, on what condition you want to store the data. Now, here we are having the Amazon log file content with us, with product information, login, time of the login and date, all these things. Now, my interest is I want to segregate that particular data based on the various dates. Okay, so it gives rather than surfing the entire information, I can make use of the corresponding partition date, and accordingly you can fetch the information. Okay, which in a way at the time of storing itself it verifies and it stores that particular data into that table date only, that date only. So it is what is the advantage of this is the searching process will be reduced and automatically the faster execution of the query is possible. Okay. So the on the similar grounds, just what we are doing here is in our submission process, just we are making use of this convention of partitioning by date and as well as the country. That is all my wish guys. Okay. Maybe in the country wise sales if I want to maintain and date wise also, because such a environment, if you are having a kind of environment where there is a chance of bulk data processing and we are generally inputting various kinds of the records on the day-to-day basis from various countries, then it is always important to maintain the corresponding partition according to that. And most importantly, the point here is guys, row format delimited, fields terminated by comma. So delimiters also, if you see any programming language, so comma separated values, tab separated values, okay, all these are with the help of that comma or tab, just you can observe in what way you are interacting with the appropriate input data. Now, whatever the data I'm populating into this particular table page view, I'm expecting that, okay, the row format. I mean, if I'm considering a row, maybe as we have seen in the Amazon example, maybe that login information, product ID, time of the login, and then date information. Probably they should be coupled by CSV. They are stored in the format of the CSV. So we are instructing Hive that I am getting this particular data. So just if you are making use of that particular convention, automatically my row format is following the comma. Okay. And here the point, guys, actually stored as text file. From the beginning of this Hive discussion, we were saying that it is a ETL process and which is providing us some way of relational processing. You may expect, okay, like, okay, relational lessons, again, we are getting the table information or table format. No, guys, actually, this data is stored in the dump kind of thing. Whereas we are picking up some data and we are dumping the data into the uh, this Hive format. It's not definitely a table, though we are using the terminology related to the relational model because we are habituated. The SQL format, in the sense we are happy with the tables and all those things. But finally, I'm storing this particular data in the textual format. Why I'm storing this data in textual format is again, Hive is making use of the Hadoop distributed file system. Our HDFS is not definitely the relational model. Okay, maybe it is storing the CSVs, it is storing the jar files, it is storing the JSON, it is storing the text files. Many files we have seen earlier, friends, related to the Hadoop distributed file system. It is not having any format, in fact. So to keep that point in a most lively way, so just we are mentioning that stored as text file. So except this thing remaining all very simple. Okay, except this particular because for many people this even this particular command also pretty catchy because only the distinction is in terms of partitioned by that I have given the justification why we need to use the partition. So at the table creation itself, I can easily maintain, I can easily specify. Um, how I want to distribute my data and based on which condition I want to maintain that particular data. So we are using the partition by and at the time I can make use of multiple fields. One is date field, the current date field, and country information on that particular day. Which country? Maybe US, India. Like that, we are going to interact with this particular page view table, and the input we are giving to this particular table is in the format of the comma separated CSV kind of thing. And ultimately, this data is going to store in text file format. Okay, so let me run this, guys. So let us see what exactly it is taking. So just I am attempting to create a table and a user ID with the help of utime, page URL, user ID, all these things. And remaining things same way, describe and your page view. So then obviously, just here you can easily observe. Just I am making use of view time, integer, user ID, big integer, page URL, which is a string type, IP. Again, we only mentioned string type. See the date and as well as the country, string type. And here we did mention the IP is IP address. So in a way, it is giving the remarks here. And one more thing, guys, here partition information. We are not explicitly asked to mention the partition information. Um, but at the time of table creation, as a kind of generic information, Hive is giving us the partition information. So like the column name is date, data type is string, column name is country, data type is string. So like that we can perform the orientation. So the understanding here is, friends, uh, from thereafter, after storing of this particular table, now at times there may be a possibility of inserting your data related to a particular partition. I cannot roughly or randomly insert the data with random dates or random countries. Okay, so this is the understanding. Let me clear the screen, Control L. Now, what I'm doing here is just I'm getting some more information for us, which is pretty straightforward. Now, in the local file system, I have shown you some kind of the file. Okay, so that particular file is something like, okay, first let me give the command for you guys. So, what exactly this command is? See here, load data local in path. Okay, just to observe here the local in path. Input high, just now we have seen. Page view, the corresponding information, India. Okay, first I want to load the India basic page view statistics into my table, into table page view. Explicitly, I'm mentioning that, okay, maybe I'm having some date information. On the date, the country is India. So accordingly, in that particular partition, so we are having two references here. The date information is this date. Okay, maybe whatever the date I want to specify related to that date, and country information is India. Okay. Now, if you move to this thing, actually in this ls input hive, okay, if you see this local file system directory input hive, we are having this data. Okay, page view india.csv, and we try to insert this particular data. Make sure that this directory must be there in the local file system. How I have copied this folder into this is, WinSCP is there now. So that WinSCP, let me show you that also, because WinSCP already two or three times we have visited. So that WinSCP is a host name and username, and then the password information of the cluster, and then which enables us in the left side the local file system directory. In the right side, we are having this clusters local file system. Okay, just it is a drag and drop kind of thing. Like that, I have copied, okay, the entire information from left portion to the right portion. So that is the way how we are making use of the convention of copying the data from local machine to the local file system of the cluster. Okay, that's how we are here. Now we are clear that input hive is our folder. Within that folder, I'm having the page view India. Now, if you go to this hive, a similar way I'm referencing. Okay, and if you want to load the data from the local file system, you need to mention a word called load data local in path. Okay, load data local in path. Just you can mention this convention. Okay, now you try to enter. So just it is immediately it has stored the data frames. Okay. So similarly, after closing of this, after inserting of this particular data, I may insert some other data also. So this time I want to insert in US based statistics. India already we have inserted page view. Now let me show you how I can insert the US based statistics. See here, load data again local in path. Input hive is the folder. Page view from the US into table. Page view, the table name. Partition. So corresponding date, and this time country is US. Earlier it is India. This time it is the US. Okay. So this same file is also there. Page view US statistics we are having in CSV format. Okay. So just if you are going through and if you enter this thing, just it is also trying to insert the data into our table. Okay, so load data, local in path, make sure that, okay, whatever the data I'm having, so just that particular data is going to pick up and insert into the specific values. Okay, so now we have created the table and we have loaded the data into the appropriate hive. Now the point is, what I want to do is this time I want to make use of the Hadoop distributed file system also, because if you refer, just I want to make use of this convention and Hadoop fs -ls. Okay, I'm having some kind of the data with me. Page external. Okay, so just I want to insert This time I want to populate the data from the Hadoop distributed file system also. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to get the data. Okay, I want to get the data from the local file system. So ls uh, input hyphen hive slash. Okay, so just what it is doing, guys, it is giving us all the files. One minute, typo hive. So input hive. Now I am picking up this data Hadoop fs hyphen uh, copy from local. Okay. What I am doing is I am mentioning input hive page view mm, India data page IND. Okay, so what I'm doing here, Hadoop FS, I'm copying the input Hive one page view data into my Hadoop distributed file system. Okay, so now you can see page underscore IND. Let me check whether it has been created or not. Hadoop FS hyphen ls. Now you can observe that the page underscore India is there here. Some data is there. Now, how do I insert this data into my table? Because in the earlier example, in both the cases, I have used the local in path. Local in path just specifies that. So whatever the data I'm having, that particular data is picked up from the local file system, and it is going to push into the Hive table. But this time, my interest is maybe I'm not having any local file system access, and I want to I want to make use of the distributed file system. Okay, so for that, just have a look on this, guys. If you are interested to maintain your file in the local Hadoop distributed file system, just have a look on this. Okay, so in case of earlier example, if I am loading the data into my table page in country India, it took 1.328 seconds. 1.328 seconds. But now the same, okay, whatever the data I'm having, I want to insert the data from the Hadoop distributed file system. So just what we're doing, load data in path. So there is a distinction, friend. By seeing the command itself, you can observe that whether I am loading my data from local in path or whether I am loading the data from Hadoop distributed file system. Okay, so load data local in path is a reference of the local file system, whereas load data in path is a reference of the Hadoop distributed file system. If your command is having the local in the submission, then it belongs to the local file system. So we are as a developer, okay, you need to make sure that that particular file which we are referring from the directory, that must be there in the local file system. And if you don't want to make use of the local file system and your entire activities are built on top of the Hadoop distributed file system, then what you can do is you can make use of the convention load data in path. Just now we have created page underscore IND here. Okay, page underscore IND is here. Now we are using that page underscore IND to insert into table. Remaining things as usual, partition, date, and as well as the country. And one more point you can observe, guys, here. If you refer the data loading from the LFS, local file system into Hive, it took some little high time frames, 1.328. You might have observed this point. Okay, it has taken some 1.328 seconds. But whereas the same partition and same information, if I want to insert or if I want to load, actually it's not the insertion, it is a loading process. Directly we are taking the input and dumping that into the file system. So now if you want, let me show you how that particular item looks like. So the data in between, let us talk about this. 1.328 seconds required for the sake of loading the data from the LFS, whereas 0.92 seconds are enough If I am loading my data into from the HDFS, it is understood now. As earlier we have seen, whatever the data I'm using or whatever the aspects I'm performing, those particular things. Okay, just if I am making use of those conventions, all those particular Hive-based aspects are running on top of the Hadoop distributed file system. So obviously, your HDFS loading took less time when compared with the local file system. Local file system, in the sense, again, Hive has to look up and explicitly it has to get the data and load the data. But HDFS is local to your Hive. So in that particular case, obviously, picking up of the data from the Hadoop distributed file system is definitely requires less time. Okay. Now let us understand the way of data. Where is this mm, page underscore? We have stored just created one thing. No? Now Hadoop distributed file system. Where is the case? It is not reflecting here. I want to show that the way we are having the data, no problem. So let me go to this local file system here. Um, so ls input hive cat input hive slash page view. So this is the way, guys. Just we are having some information of the Google, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, MSN, New York Times, Google, all these kind of the data along with the IP address, this information. Is a purely a CSV comma separated kind of the data. Just dumping of this source data into the Hive table. Okay, just whatever the input data I'm having, just I'm dumping that particular data. Okay, so no matter whether this is from the local or HDFS, in our Hadoop distributed file system also we have loaded the same kind of the data. So if you see on cat, uh, okay, so Hadoop fs-cat page ind, same file we have copied. It is showing sometime. Hadoop fs-ls. Hmm. So why is this? Okay, okay. Right, right. Hmm. So what is the problem here, guys? Have you observed that? I forgot to tell you one more point. Yeah. So in case of the local file system, we are having this page view us.csv, page view india.csv. Both the files are there in the local file system. Okay. So if you see this, even after running of that particular command, we are having the page view in the table. But maybe this is a surprise for you. But let me talk about that. After loading your data from HDFS to Hive, there is no more source file. There is no more source file. Okay. So what could be the reason, friends? Because if you observe, after running of this particular page underscore ind in Q login portal, we cannot get this page underscore ind. There is no such kind of the file. Whereas in case of the local size file system, both were there. Both India.csv page view statistics are there and US.csv page statistics were there. But we did not get that page underscore India because it is saying no such file or directory. Is there any thought coming to your mind, friends? Okay, so just let me ask you this question. After loading the data from LFS to Hive, like ind dot csv, us dot uh, us dot csv, okay, ind dot csv, us dot csv. Um, both files were preserved. Okay, whereas in case of using the HDFS as a source to load page underscore ind, after loading, there is no page underscore ind in HDFS. Okay, just have a look on this slide. It's a quite interesting point. Uh, the point is pretty simple. Which simply you can get the insight. So likewise, we're having two important cases here. In the first case, load data local in path, which allows us just I am having the local file system and I am making use of my data loading process from LFS. And here the observation is after loading the data, okay, after loading the data, source file preserves. Okay, so for example, india.csv, us.csv, both the things we observed, even after inserting the or loading the data, we are having the source file. But the second thing is load data in path, which is a reference of loading the data which is in HDFS to Hive. Now the resultant here is guys, suppose if you are loading india.csv file from HDFS to Hive, HDFS to Hive, and after loading, after loading, HDFS india.csv file will be removed. Mm. Any thoughts, friends, related to that? Even I have typed that in the chat window. Is there any thought coming into your mind? Just have a look on this. After loading the data from LFS to Hive, like india.csv, us.csv, both files were preserved. But in case of using Hadoop distributed file system as a source to load page underscore ind, after loading there is no page underscore ind in HDFS. What could be the reason, friends? Just you think through. Maybe any point coming into the mind, maybe replication or any such kind of points come to your mind. Is there
Schema,
any?
inavailability of schema.
Uh, no, can you elaborate?
When
How
we
do
load the
I?
data from HDFS from Hive, there is no
Hmm.
schema for the dataset, and their file system is different. The Hadoop distributed file system is different from the local file system. So
Hmm.
maybe Hive could not make the schema itself. So we have to parse a schema, I guess.
Yeah, the problem is here, though we loaded the data from LFS to Hive, we can see India.csv and US.csv. But whereas if I'm loading the data from HDFS to Hive, I cannot see India.csv because I loaded that file into Hive, but HDFS in
There will be
HDFS the
no
file. Yeah.
sir,
Hmm.
There will be no
There will be.
CSV file, right? Because Hadoop
Yeah.
file system is different.
No, here Sahu, the point is whether schema or file system is different. Even in LFS also, we are not using same kind of the file system. Okay. So, but in while using the HDFS to store the data or to load the data, this source file got deleted actually. In a simple layman terminology, in the from the HDFS, if I am trying to load my data into Hive, the source file got deleted actually. The source file got deleted, but my LFS local file system resolve the same. This is available soon. Even after the loading the data, we are having the same source file. Okay, so the reason is pretty simple, friends. If you see Hive, okay, which is running on top of the Hadoop distributed file system, which is storing. Now, what we have done, we picked up a file from the HDFS and we were loading the file to Hive table. So obviously, this Hive table, whatever I am making, okay, page view, within this page view, this india.csv will be moved. Now, this is something like the analogy is something like this. Now, Hadoop fs hyphen move. How I am moving is in HDFS, I am having page underscore India. Okay, I am moving this file to my Hive. Within that Hive, I am making some page underscore. Hope you got the point now. Indirectly, okay, indirectly, this load data in path similar to your moving MV command from HDFS to Hive. If you remember, guys, just we have seen this command also because we cannot move a file from distributed file system to local file system. Okay, but we can move a file from HDFS to another HDFS directory or location. So the point here is rather than preserving the data at multiple locations, because we are having the replication, we are having the replication, and the replication is three. And though if I'm using Hive or if I'm using HDFS in either case, the replication factor remains same. Okay, but only the thing is, in case of the HDFS, it is stored as a kind of the file. But in case of the Hive just in terms of text file, we are making use of the page view table. So that is the understanding. Okay. So as a general convention, remember that that is what why they have allowed us. Either you can load your content from HDFS or local file system. But in local file system, you can preserve the data even after loading into Hive. But while loading your file into HDFS, only at Hive, the data is preserved. Be cautious, be cautious because while using preserved, okay, while using the appropriate table information or source data, and if you are making use of load data in path, and your friends or your team members may not get the appropriate file information from your HDFS because once you launch that load data in path, automatically your HDFS file will be moved to the table data of Hive. So that is the reason, though it is taking much time in case of the local file system. And if at all you want to perform, okay, if at all you want to make use of both the files, okay, without loss of any generality, if you want to keep the source file without any problem, then better you go with the local file system. But the second way, okay, you are not interested to maintain multiple data items. And to be frank, guys, we are not going to display or we are not going to use any file in HDFS only for the sake of loading or copying the data. Only these kind of the conventions are there. So generally, if you are while using the Hive command aspect, and if Hadoop admin is giving access to us so as to load our data into with the help of the HDFS file system, then it is understood. It is understood. Like soon after executing your loading process from HDFS to Hive, and there is no more source file in the Hadoop distributed file system. Okay, so just that source file of the Hadoop distributed file system move to the Hive table. Okay, so that is the differentiation between Hive loading process of the local file system and as well as the Hive loading process of the loading process from the Hadoop distributed file system. Okay, the differentiation we have to see. Now we are observed some two kind of the aspect. One is the create table already we have seen, and once the table has been created, as a typical Hive user, so just we have populated the appropriate table with the information. Okay. Now the most commonly used construct is okay. Once I am having my data with me, there is a possibility of show partitions, just a table name. Okay, whatever the table I have created, so just it is giving the partition information. Okay, so at the time of table creation, maybe our team decided to um, use some kind of the partition data so that we a later point of time due to some various operations we may not get how many partitions are there and do the existing partitions are enough or something like that. Okay, so in that case just you can make use of this show partitions, the corresponding table information, then obviously you will be getting the partitions which are running on top of the appropriate height. Okay, which are all the partitions. And now one more thing, guys. Here,
So
the yeah, any doubt? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you are
Yeah,
audible.
yeah. Thank you. So no, someone asked me some maybe. Okay. So if you're having any doubt, friends, please stop me. So here, one more important point. Just I explained about the internal table and as well as the external table. Okay, that time in the external table, we have seen some kind of the logic. Uh, though I delete the external table, the scenario is pretty simple, guys. Like, maybe me, Sahu, and Bala are working on a project, and we asked Vedant to supply a file. Maybe he is working in a research area in the same in our company only. Maybe they are doing some ML or some kind of the project. And we asked him, okay, just can you supply the log file or input data which you are working on top of the Twitter analytics and all. Of course, we got the approval of managers because as we are all trying to strive for the betterment. So after getting that particular data, uh, Sahu deleted this external table, assume that because we have populated the data and we have seen some meaningful insights and we published that article. We have done with that project actually. But of course, and we have been allocated to new project and we are as a part of deleting all the other earlier things. Sahu deleted the appropriate table. Later, he realized that is there any effect to Vedant because he has supplied us the data, and maybe if I am deleting, as you know, just now we have seen, if I am loading my data from HDFS, obviously the data is got moved to Hive table. Yeah, such kind of confirmations must be there, guys. So first, let me introduce how I need to create a table in the external format. Okay, and soon after the creation of that particular table, Okay, soon after creation of that particular table, how do I make use of that external information? Okay, so let us see here. Okay, have a look on this, guys. Just this information is helping us the creation of the external table. Okay, whatever the data I'm having, just I want to create that particular table, and the creation of the table page view external. Logically, I'm giving this page view external. It may object as friends. Okay, so C is not there, and let us go back and see. And view time, user ID, page URL, IP, same kind of thing. Partition by date and as well as the country. Now the point is clustered by. I'll talk about this point, friends. Initially, our idea is if I am creating a external table, see implicitly, just in the earlier example, just we have used create table, that's all. Create table info. But now what we are doing, create external table. And explicitly, I have mentioned this name also, friends. Okay, so just what I am doing is just I have mentioned the external table in user slash big data mind one slash corresponding folder information. Okay, let us try to run this. Immediately it has created. Not even it took maybe internal table the same 0.214, the same. This time it has taken less time compared with this thing because uh, if you are explicitly mentioning the information of the Hadoop distributed file system, then Hive need not verify for anything. Directly, it is pointing to this thing. But whereas in this case, create a table, we are not mentioning any directory or something like that. So obviously, it is taking much time. Now, let us see page underscore external one is there in the queue. Click on this. Just I am refreshing. Okay. And even I can see in this thing, guys. So let me clear. So Hadoop fs-ls page external one. Okay, nothing would be there because empty file. Na? Uh, Nothing is there, empty file. Okay, so even in view login also, if you see page external, empty directory. Okay, so just that point you keep in mind, and we are going back to this thing. And now my intention here is I want to populate some kind of the data. I'll talk about this bucketing concept and all, friends, because bucketing itself is we are having very nice case study on that. Just we'll take some real estate data and we are going to segregate. Sometimes, suppose if I want to purchase some kind of flat in Chennai near Gindi or somewhere, so maybe I want to verify, okay, whether I want to stay near universities or whether I want to stay near ORR. Okay, so like that, some kind of area-wise preferences would be there. So in that case, I want to segregate those kind of the data in bucketing format. Okay, so that will come across. However, but our interest now is just we are creating one external table, and that particular external table has been created page view external, and the corresponding metadata we are storing in the Hadoop distributed file system. Okay, so that is the command. Now Control L, so which is used to clear the screen. Now what I am doing here is, guys, just I want to load the data into my table, whatever I have created. So for that particular purpose, so just as usual, how I have followed in the earlier notion, just I am making use of some uh, uh, appropriate data. Okay, so just I am collecting that information. So it is running a bit slow, guys. It's not weekend. Why simply it is taking much time. Lately it has to paste. Okay, so insert. Okay, insert override table, page view external. The corresponding partition data is date and as well as the country data. Now what we are doing is definitely it is not going to run. Let me control Z. Sorry for that, guys. Clear. So let me launch Hive. Two times it has copied. So we are launching Hive again. Uh, okay. So control L to clear the screen. Use the corresponding database in DM1. Okay. Now we want to show the tables. So page view action. Those things we have created. Now let me paste the thing. Yes. Now try to understand, friends. Insert override table page view actional. Partition remains same, friends, because we are pretty clear that based on the date and as well as the country information, we want to partition the data, and we are selecting. Okay, selecting view time, user ID, page URL, IP. Page view already we are having, friends. Now you see in even MySQL, and while working with some kind of the uh, Oracle or SQL server, there is a possibility of inserting the data from one table to another table. So what I'm doing here is I want to make use of the page view data. Okay, I want to make use of the page view data which already we have created. Just now, just we have created, and you can see on the screen also as a tables. Within that Indian one, we are having the page view external. Both the tables we are having. Uh, so related to this kind of the convention, just what we are doing is page view data we are posting to page view external. So this is a simple point. Okay, so let us run this. Okay, it is launching. If you observe guys, it is launching some kind of the map reduce. So far, whatever the insertions we have done with the help of the local file system or with the help of the local file system, Hive is not uh, established any map reduce kind of thing. But now the point is, as we are making use of, okay, the loading of the data into the external table with the help of the page view. Actually, that is the internal table. Page view is the internal table, and we want to preserve that particular data into page view external. We are making use of one table data into another table. Now, if you refer, it is established some number of mappers one and number of reducers three. Okay, as usual, how we have seen in our map reduce aspect, as we are saying that internally, Hive uses the map reduce processing so as to perform the activities. So now, if you refer the convention, the map task and reduce task are taking place, and because directly we are not given any LFS or HDFS source data. Rather, what we have done, we have pointed our page view table so as to store load the data into page view external. Okay. Now loading data to table Indium one dot page view external, the corresponding partition. Now it is specifying that how many stages I have taken, and I am using map and as well as reduce task and cumulative CPU time, and how much amount of the data I have written to HDFS, and how much writings or readings has performed. Okay, all these kind of the conventions, whether it is success or failure. So total nearby 1.5 minutes it took 91.292 seconds. So here the understanding friends, why MapReduce is established by Hive, because in the earlier process of the loading, there is no, though LFS I am using or HTFS I am using, in both the cases, there is no stage wise or map wise or reduce wise zones. Okay, so why this particular, why Hive now, how, why it is elected? Okay, so the usage of this map reduce. Okay, the point is pretty simple. Let me use the one note. In case of the local file system or Hadoop distributed file system, say I'm having the Hive table with me, and I'm picking up the data from LFS, and otherwise I'm picking up the data from HDFS. In the LFS format, so just the text data, whatever, stored as a text file, and internally I'm using the CSV format. And here also, in terms of Hadoop distributed file system also, we have generated the data into the textual format only. This is one scenario we have used. And there the observation is LFS source file preserved, whereas HDFS files got moved actually. It's not preserved. It got moved. Now, the second scenario here is what I'm doing is I want to create a page view external table. Okay. And for this particular page view, I am making page view table as the input. Okay. This is the table already available in Hive as a source table. And this is the table which is to be created. New table. Now see friends here. In case of the HDFS, okay, loading of the data, it directly move the file and it is going to place in the appropriate table, page view external. Now also, if you provide any HDFS kind of the source, it simply place the data into it, but it has to preserve. Table should not be deleted. No? Table should not be moved or deleted. After running of this loading process, after loading your data from page view to page view external, both the tables should be preserved. Okay, both the tables should be preserved. So obviously, what it does is, okay, it is maintaining some temporary storage. Okay, no? Temporary storage, and what it does, whatever the content I'm having, it plays in the temporary, and your page view external periodically that page view external is making use of that. In case of LFS or HDFS, okay, we have seen some 0.6 or something seconds it took. Whereas in case of this thing, we have taken some 90.13 seconds. Okay, reason is simple, guys. Um, because maintenance of this thing, okay, first it has to copy the data, and then this particular log file, okay, whatever I'm having, it has to move to our page view external table. Okay, for all these kind of things, definitely I need the map reduce process. So it is fetching the data, parallel it is going to move the data. So that is the reason why your um, loading of the data from a table, okay, took more time when compared with the loading of the data from LFS and HDFS. Even LFS, HDFS is very less time. It took very less time compared with all these approaches. Reason is for the Hive, HDFS is the native storage. That is the reason immediately it is going to fetch the file in HDFS and it is going to place that. But only the important point we need to observe is after loading the data, the appropriate source file will be moved to the uh, file table in the Hive. Okay, it is not going to preserve the data in Hadoop distributed file system. Okay, maybe first time definitely you may feel some, I mean, disconnect, guys. It's all right. Okay, because as I said, architecturally, Hadoop, all these kind of things are definitely heavy. Okay, but only the thing is with the practice, with the understanding or repetitive processing, definitely we can overcome the burden, right? Okay. Now we are good. Okay, just we have seen some creation of the table, and after that loading of the data from LFS, loading of the data from HDFS, and thereafter we have seen that creation of the external table, and we have just loaded the data from our internal table to the external table. Okay, these are so far so good kind of things. Now, in the of course, in the page view external also, I'm having some partitions. that is as usual. So what I am doing here is, let me clear the screen, and I want to get the partitions information from page view external. Okay, only one partition I'm having, because only we loaded the appropriate data into from the page view internal, whatever the table I'm having. Now, after this particular kind of the convention, um, so just I want to pick up the data. Okay, so before going to handle this thing, let me see this convention. Actually, we are in the process of dropping the table. Now, I want to drop the table. So just after dropping also, I should able to observe the appropriate metadata information. Okay. Now, if you remember, friends, just now we have seen page view external is empty actually. Page view external is empty. Now, what I am doing here is just I am clicking on this. Okay. So just now we have populated some data. Now again, if I am clicking on this, it's not empty now, guys. Now it has been populated with certain kind of the data. If you click on this, okay, so because that creation of the partition explicitly we have mentioned that I want only US kind of the page views. So remember, as a part of the map reduce, a long back I have said that if you are getting your data as a resultant of the map reduce, then definitely you should see these kind of the things. Even in case of our Java based job submission or Python based job submission, if you recollect, friends, we have seen our output directory in such a way that, let me show you that here only we are having. So if you go back and if you observe MR purchases, map reduce, and map reduce Java, all these things we only executed. So if you click on this, okay, we are having output in the partition part underscore five zeros and part underscore one four zeros one, like that. So if you are seeing the appropriate information in this format, okay, so no matter whatever the map reduce kind of the code I'm having, this is the common convention. Okay, if you see this iPhone and as well as all these kind of things, you can realize that that is the outcome of map reduce. Now you see here also, just if you click on this, okay, here also we are seeing the same kind of the convention. Okay, just to click on this, though we are generating the tables or whatever the content, but it is showing the approach in the map reduce orientation. So the point here is whatever the location I'm using as a part of my XML table creation. Okay, so that is available in my Hadoop distributed file system. Now, one important point we have to observe is now I want to drop this particular XML table. Okay, as I said earlier, no? So just I want to drop the table. Okay, so that I don't want to preserve this drop page view XML page. Um, the name of the table is page view external. Just I am dropping this table. Now, if you observe the show tables info, it is only containing the page view. Okay, so because just now we have dropped that particular page view external. Now, if I am going back to my View login portal, if I am refreshing this, because my thought process is earlier we have seen the analogy. If I am loading my data from HDFS to table of the Hive, the source file won't be there. Okay. Now what I'm doing here is I have created one Hadoop distributed file system folder at the time of creating the external table. Okay. So just now we have verified that after insertion of the data into my external table, I observed that along with that external table content, just now we have seen the page view external content. Okay. Now we have dropped that particular table actually. We have dropped the table from Hive, but but still still we are having this particular information. Now you can see that what is the why we need to create the external table. and though that particular external table got created, but still the metadata information is preserved. Okay, still the metadata information is preserved. So at times, friends, okay, while making use of the convention of these kind of the approaches, maybe we are using some external files or external teams information, all these things. If you are making use of the internal table, okay, so just you hear that, observe that internal table. Okay, so if you drop this thing, the entire data will be removed. Will be removed. Okay, but in case of the managed or external table, the scenario is pretty simple. How we are making use of this scenario is related to this external table. I got some information from the ML team, maybe the Twitter log file, assume that Twitter log file. Now I am getting this information and I am creating the external table. Okay. Along with the external table, as a part of this thing, we are storing the info. Okay, where we are storing the info, friends, in Hadoop distributed file system slash user slash some kind of big data one slash. Just I'm using this same file name page underscore external one. So obviously, at the time of creation, just we have created uh, in the Hadoop distributed file system, we have created this particular folder. Now we have populated the data. Okay, as a part of this particular data population, both table and this page underscore external one got the data. Okay, so both the things got the data. Next step, what we have done is we have dropped the table actually. So drop table uh, page view external. Okay, then obviously the entire content. Okay, whatever the data we are having as a part of that log file processing, entire things will be dropped. But okay, the corresponding source info can be preserved, can be found in HDFS location. Okay, so this is how the external tables. Okay, because the point here is, friends, sometimes while using the external table content or external information, we may overlook to, okay, just directly dropping the data and all. But how they resolve this particular issue is at the time of okay, at the time of external table creation, the users are allowed to preserve that particular data into Hadoop distributed file system. Okay, so with that, actually these are all two opposite conventions. Two opposite conventions. A little tricky also for as a developer, we should be very clear about this resolution of the ambiguity. The first point is while loading the data from HDFS to your Hive table, after loading of the data, there is no more HDFS content. The source file will be moved from HDFS to the table info that we have seen. The second part is the second point is while making use of the external content, we are having the process of the we are having the concept of the external table, and what it does is that particular external table is having the provision of storing the file in our Hadoop distributed file system. And in that particular case, while populating your table of the Hive, the same data is also reflecting in our Hadoop distributed file system folder. Okay, and soon after completion of your task with the table, and you felt that okay, that particular table is not required because it is taking much amount of my space. So here the logic is in both page view external I am having the data, in my HDFS location also I'm having the data. As a part of the storage performance improvement, it is enough to have that data uh, only once. Okay, so in that way, even if I am dropping my table also, I can able to preserve the HDFS kind of the data into my page. Now the point is, guys, I'm asking one more thing. I'm asking one more thing. As I'm having my HDFS page underscore XML1. Okay, this data is already there. This data is already there. Now the question is, if I want to, okay, if I want to create page view external again, page view external again, can I request to the other team, or shall I make use of our HDFS location? Think through, guys. Okay, so the scenario is this. We asked some file from the external team, and they have given that file to us, and we have placed that file in Hadoop distributed file system, and we loaded that file into the HDFS Hive location. Then there is no more HDFS file, because as if I am loading the content from HDFS to my Hive table, source file will be deleted. But what we have done as a part of the external table parameters, I can store that particular table information into my HDFS location. Now, after 1 week or 10 days of the time, again we are having the requirement of working with the same input data, but we are not having the input data in HDFS, and that's what I am asking. Shall I use the HDFS location created earlier, or do I need to put a request to the other? Where we have taken the appropriate content from the external team. What is your thought process on this, guys? Can I use HDFS, or do I need to raise a request to the other team? In what way you see this convention? Hope you are getting my point. Why that much thinking? Simple. HDFS loading process is there. Simply you can specify that folder, no matter whether that is the folder or input data. In either case, I can load the information into the Hive. Okay, so simple. What you can do is load data in path. What is my location? Page underscore external one. Load data in path into page view external. Partition remains same. Partition by whatever you want, date, comma, country. This is as usual. Partition by date, comma, country. So, however, we are having this thing, but we are having in a partition wise. The data 001, 01, no problem. Huh? Even in our job submission, if you go back and see, suppose I want to give this DE. Actually, DE is a folder. I'm having sales data, purchases data, SBFS 100. Like that, I'm having three files here. So how I can submit the appropriate file, friends? Hadoop jar. Assume that I'm submitting the user-defined map reduce job mr1.jar. Just I'm giving this package name dot class name com dot example dot word count. Now I should mention the input. Simply I'm giving the DE. No need. Okay, no need to specify all the sales, purchases, and because automatically if it is the folder one by one, the Hadoop framework will pick up the data and it is going to supply to the MapReduce process. These and outcome you should mention maybe data engineering MapReduce outcome. Okay, just you can enter. Similarly, okay, in the Hive also, okay, you can simply mention your page underscore external table, external data, whatever I'm having, while creating the external table. Okay, you need not again go back, ask the, that is the main idea behind the usage of the external table. Whenever you are requiring, you can maintain the table. Otherwise, we can make use of our Hadoop location so as to maintain the data. Otherwise, if you are not creating the table also, no problem. As you are having your table data preserved in the Hadoop distributed file system, and you can make use of the same file. Maybe you can give to the pig Latin, or you can use this file in the usage of the scoop to MySQL export. Anyway, because it is hardly a kind of the file, how we are treating that particular file. Rather, it is a typical format which is maintained by the MapReduce orientation. Otherwise, all the things remains same. Okay, so though these things are pretty simple and straightforward, friends, you need to mention, you need to have the look and feel and how we are making use of those conventions are pretty important considerations. Okay, now before taking the break, so just let me introduce some other aspects related to the Hive functionalities actually. So as I said earlier, always every programming construct is having some set of the functions. Okay, so just I can make use of show functions. So just obviously, Hive is some number of built-in functions I'm having. Let me clear the screen. So just I'm using show functions. Okay, so just I'm having some tons of the functions related to this Hive orientation. Okay, many functions were there. Now they are keep on adding these things. Okay, absolute function, array, CHR, okay, count. Okay, some functions directly we can use and some functions, okay, we can, in the programming itself we can use. Now the point is these many built-in functions are available. Almost 249 rows we get and of course 249 around 250 predefined or built-in functions we're having. We may not use all these kind of things, but typical Hive developers at Facebook or any such kind of the social media, they should make use of to perform the complex operations. Because if you observe um, the appropriate Walmart kind of the example, let me pick up that thing. Earlier we have seen so that in case of the Walmart example, we have seen that how Walmart is fetching the data and how they are making use of the conventions. Because Walmart is such a great and heavy data manager, so these kind of the conventions, okay, whatever the conventions I'm using in terms of data source loading and processing of the data, these aspects are pretty important. Okay, so if you refer the usage of the data structures and identification of the architectures, uh, have a look on these guys. Just earlier also we have seen, which is a big company, and their Hive should work with other tools also. Maybe in case of the Spark, or if I'm talking about the Scoop, if I'm talking about the NoSQL, okay. So integrations are more things, and moreover, Hive and Piglet integration, Hive and HBase integration. The advanced programmers they can make use of those kind of the conventions. Okay. So along with these kind of the functionalities, actually I did not explain the architectural aspects of the Hive. Now probably you can get the complete narration if I'm giving the kind of the Hive orientation now. So once I explain this particular architecture, and then we'll have a break. After the break, as per the earlier commitment, our Harish, Sahu, and all these guys going to explain their presentation. related to map reduce orientation. Okay, so have a look on this, which is the architecture of the Hive, how it is taking the uh, advantage of using the local file system and Hadoop distributed file system, and how it is trying to create the data into the tables. Okay, let us have a look on this. Generally, guys, from the web shell. Okay, so just I can type Hive. I can lead to Hive. Hive prompt is there. And another way how I can launch my Hive is I have shown you earlier. Let me show you once again because for this discussion, I need to have that Hive graphical user interface also. Just if you observe the Hue login portal, if you remember, this query is there actually. So now if you go back, you see here, friends, there is a symbol, HDFS symbol is there. If I'm rolling over the first object, it is SQL. Here I'm having certain aspects, Impala, Hive, Solar, like that. Click on this Hive, and various databases are there. Our database is just now we have created Indium 1. Okay, just to refresh on this, it is only one table because earlier we were having two tables. Just now we dropped the textual table, so we are having only one table in our database. Okay. Now, apart from accessing of this Hive, directly I can click on this. I can able to view the contents or whatever the data I'm having. Now, the other way of launching this particular Hive is just to go to the editor and you can click on this Hive. Okay, now I'm using this Indium. Click on this, friends, enter. Either after placing the cursor, control enter you can give, or else you can select this thing. It is launching the query, so it has used that. Okay, and thereafter I want to launch the new query. Click on this. What I want to do is select. Uh, Actually, I should mention the kind of the folder, kind of the directory I'm using Indium, and it is automatically suggesting me because it is having only one table. So maybe more tables also it suggested. So just to click on this. Okay, I'm mentioning the star. So select star from the page view. Now you click on this. So this is a typical GUI interface, and it is taking little high time frames. So maybe in case of the CLI, as directly it is interacting with the Hadoop distributed file system, I can make use of that convention. Okay. Now, if you refer this kind of the thing, just it is making use of whatever the query I have submitted, just it is fetching that. Moreover, this is giving some outcome display. This is fine. This is absolutely fine. If you observe the panel, which is left side of this particular display, I can do some kind of charting here, guys. Okay, how Google page views are there, how Twitter, MSN, all these kind of the things. Okay, how many user statistics were there. So simply, what it does is it is going to give us some kind of the statistics. And apart from that, even some pie chart in what way the users are interacting, and even I can take the scatter. Scatter, no, not possible. And whereas marker map and how these things, especially here, we may not find out. But in some cases, in the next coming example, transactions and all, I'll be showing you in how many locations the data is there. Okay, sometimes in our company also we use it to specify that maps where we are located, US, UK, Canada, like that. So just we are used to mention that. So the advantage of this GUI based, this query based kind of thing is I can simply estimate. So whatever the information I'm having, so just I can make use of this information so as to analyze my data. Okay, maybe user based kind of the statistics, but simply changing this kind of the country information related to bar charts. Okay, only two countries were having, India and US. So obviously, how many page views and how many users were located, these kind of the conventions. So the advantage of doing this usage of this GUI is in case of the CLI interface, those appropriate information is getting very fast. But in the GUI case, we can statistically view the data in the visualization format and all these kind of the things. Just to have a look on your mind. And one more thing, if I am running the map reduce kind of the job, just now we have executed the actional table. Let me run that actional table once again in the graphical user interface, GUI based kind of thing. And we can see how a map reduce can be taking place in GUI based kind of aspect. Let me query. Yeah, let's clear the screen. Now I'm running this thing, create table, create XML table, page view XML. All these things remain same. But one of the important problem here is guys, it generally I discourage you to use the GUI based kind of thing whenever you are working with the path based or some kind of absolute path while storing the data. I doubt whether it allows us to maintain that convention. Yeah, allowed. Okay, but in case of the local file system, as it is not aware of that slash home and all, we cannot make use of that thing. So page view XML, however, is a typical orientation. Okay, so where you can make use of the convention of storing the data, but don't try to make use of the GUI while working with the and if you want to store your data into the LFS kind of thing, because this is a Hive portal, Hive is not having any idea about the LFS kind of thing. But your web shell is a combination of both LFS and as well as the HDFS. Okay, there you can venture both the aspects. There but Hive login portal is very stringent and it is only following up the HDFS file system. Okay, it's not aware of the local file system. Now, the other thing is our idea is to launch the MR orientation, and we observed that in the earlier command, while submitting that particular command to the Hive, just it has launched that map reduce. Okay, so just we are having the page view table with us, and what we are doing is we are trying to insert the appropriate information into the page view XML. Let us run this. Okay, so just it is launching the map reduce. And here also you can see the job orientation and all those things. Just it is fetching the data. See friends here, it is given us some kind of the 11504, 11504, and it is launching map and reduce kind of aspect. If you remember friends, in the earlier session also, just we have seen Cloudera Manager. Already there I know. Okay, Cloudera Manager and log into this. And what is the job information friend? 11504. Okay, 11504. Now I want to, yeah, what happened? So this particular page view, okay, what it is saying, but it completed fail execution uh, due to some kind of unavailability of the data. Okay, but let us see what is the problem with this. Actually completed, friend. Progress is completed. Somehow it is not giving the outcome. This page view XML. Okay, now if I want to verify where what is the status of my ARL kind of thing, because we know that while making use of this particular MapReduce orientation, we are having the support of the internally Hive is using the MapReduce. So at the moment you are supplying your job to the Hive, and Hive internally uses that MapReduce. So let us see double one that whatever the ID 11504 ID. If I want to select this ad, I want to estimate whether that is job is successful or not. Okay. So web UI already completed now. We can see with the history server. Click on that. We know that this I need to select whatever the server information I'm having. Copy. Go back to this and make use of the convention. Uh, you can manage this thing and run. Okay. Now, whatever the job ID that is 11504, it should reflect in our history server. Let us have a look on that. Yes. Okay. And here state is showing as success. Here showing as success, but in our Q login portal, it is shown as failure. That is what I'm saying, friends. Some kind of the misconceptions were there. So always the people prefer the CLI kind of things. Though it has successfully completed the task, and even here also we can see that successfully completed. Okay, the it is map and as well as reduce task. All the things are common, friends. No matter whether I'm using the Hive or map reduce or piglet or whichever, is a typical MR process. Okay, because Hive and piglet are not having any explicit processing capabilities apart from the storage HDFS and apart from the parallel processing of the map reduce. Okay. So with that convention, you can simply specify that though sometimes this GUI, okay, this view portal is saying error, but finally we are getting the data into this external thing, okay, whatever the data I'm having. And even that page view external, you can observe here. Again, we have created that is there, okay, from this kind of the convention. We can see that uh, maybe probably the destination already there, so that's what it is saying, that already the destination is there, but it just to take care about those kind of the conventions. Otherwise there is no issue with running of jobs and all. Now if you observe the job history server, where in the Hive itself, we can verify. You need not go and check in the ARM. Actually, I went to this Cloudera manager and clicked on this history server. Then only we observe the map tasks and all. But whereas in the Hue login portal itself, we are having a icon called jobs. Click on this. Just this particular thing, the job information. We click on this thing, this job only. 11504. So this also gives some kind of log file content. Okay, see, just it is running through and all the information. Okay, so this is how you can make use of the convention of using your Hive and as well as the GUI and CLI kind of thing. Okay, now let me go back to our understanding of. Now you can easily observe in what way Hive is providing the meta store and all those kind of the data. Now you have a look on this guys. So Hive clients, maybe the client may be either CLI kind of thing or else the web interface. Okay, so CLI from the web shell, just we have seen. Whereas the GUI kind of thing, which is from the Hue login portal, okay, from the query, just I can able to select this Hive. Okay, these two were talking about that, and moreover, metastore information. Friends, here metastore in the sense that if you are observing any database, we are having a concept called metadata. Okay, maybe that is the information related to data dictionary, constraints information. All these kind of aspects can be known as the metadata. Similarly, in talking about Hive, we are having this metastore information where all these kind of the metadata information will be stored. File system, friends, here the file system is something like as we are loading the data in the text files actually. Okay, all those kind of the information. For example, if you see the external table, in line with the external table, we have created page underscore external one, these things. So this is the HDFS file system actually. So if any such kind of things, then it has to make use of the Hadoop cluster. One important point, guys, maybe HDFS or MapReduce. In both the cases, we are dependent on the Hadoop cluster because within the Hadoop cluster only, we are having HDFS MapReduce configured. Okay, so commonly, either with the command line interface or web interface, we are interacting with the driver, and this particular driver is having communication with the metastore, where it is storing the entire information, and maybe file system and job client. Job client in terms of MapReduce, file system in terms of HDFS, both again referred by this Hadoop cluster. What about this server actually? Let us come to this discussion. So clients, soon after submission of your application, and sometimes, guys, I need to pick up the functions or show functions, some kind of thing. Or maybe if you are writing a user-defined function, there are some Java constructs and as well as the Hive constructs. And even sometimes I can make use of Python and as well as the Hive combination, because in case of the user-defined function, definitely apart from your Hive commands, you need to use some other aspects related to Hive. So in that case, your thrift application, okay, what it does is it is making use of some other programming techniques, especially if you are using Java-based kind of the access, JDBC, ODBC kind of the configuration. So the thrift client is something like which is a middleware kind of the technique where it is going to contact no matter whether I'm using the CLI, web server, web interface and all. Generally, CLI or web interface, we are generally as a programmer, so it is enough to have that. But the advanced programmers like they want to integrate Spark and Hive, and they want to integrate HDFS and Hive, and they want to integrate Pig Latin and Hive, and there are certain other integrations related to Hive. Okay, maybe Java-based embedded SQL with the in terms of Hive and Python along with Hive notations. All these kind of things are routed through this Hive server. Okay, otherwise, okay, you can simply design your applications in terms of the tables, structures, and all those internal and external tables. All these things can be common, and they can be executed with the help of the CLI and as well as the web interface. Okay, so this is a simple narration because if I'm talking these things before showing you the CLI and web interface, you may not get these points, friends. Okay, so that once we get some idea about the components and how our job is running and in what way we are interacting with the CLI and GUI, and GUI has even caused some trouble for us. Okay, though job is successfully executed, but still it is claiming as some kind of the warning. So these are all considerations we have seen so that we are equipped with some kind of the infra to understand the component specification of the Hive. Okay. So with this, we can have a break, friends. And today, after coming from the break, again, our friends are going to talk about the map reduce and all those things. Hope you guys are ready, Harish.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So just let me give the break. And once the break, just you can take the mic and whatever your observation you can project in front of our friends. And
Sure.
thereafter, I will walk through the key takeaways of the session. Rather than now, okay, just after your session, we'll talk 2 or 3 minutes and we can wind up the session.
Okay.
Thank you guys. Let me start the uh, Google timer. Okay, so then you can make use of that.